If you're over 60, there's a good chance you've been told that oatmeal is one of the best breakfast choices you can make. And on the surface, that's true. But what if I told you that some of the most common oatmeal habits, especially for seniors, might be doing more harm than good? In today's video, we're diving into a topic that's been quietly overlooked for too long: oatmeal mistakes. You see, oatmeal for seniors isn't just about the oats themselves. It's about what we mix in, how we prepare it, and the small daily choices that can quietly affect everything from your energy to your heart health. While most people mean well when they reach for certain toppings, the truth is some of them can turn your so-called healthy breakfast into a risky start to the day. Have you ever felt oddly tired after eating oatmeal? Or maybe your blood pressure is inching up even though you've made better food choices. These little red flags might be telling you something. This video isn't about blaming oatmeal. It's about understanding how aging changes the way your body responds to food, and how even something as simple as breakfast can become a quiet threat or a powerful ally depending on what you put in your bowl. So whether you're looking for better breakfast tips for seniors, wondering which foods to avoid after 60, or trying to spot unhealthy oatmeal toppings in your routine, you're in the right place. Before we jump in, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the rest of this series on smart nutrition for healthy aging. All right, let's begin. Number 1, brown sugar, the sweet saboteur. It's one of the most common things I see in my clinic when we review breakfast routines. "Oh, I only add a little brown sugar to my oatmeal, just for taste," someone will say. And I understand. After all, brown sugar seems innocent, even comforting. It's warm, natural looking, and seems like a better choice than the white sugar. But for the aging body, especially after 60, that just a little can carry weight far beyond its sweetness. Let me tell you about Brian. He's 72, a retired history teacher with a gentle demeanor and a lifetime of disciplined habits. He never smoked, drank rarely, and walked every day. But for years, he couldn't shake the mid-morning slump that hit him like clockwork at 10:15 a.m. He'd have breakfast at 7:30, oatmeal with a splash of skim milk and 2 teaspoons of brown sugar. It's a heart-healthy breakfast, he believed. But what Brian didn't realize is that brown sugar, while less processed than white sugar, is still sugar. And sugar, any sugar, hits harder as we age. That's because after 60, your pancreas slows down its insulin production, and your cells don't respond to insulin as efficiently. When you eat quick-absorbing sugar first thing in the morning, it causes a rapid blood sugar spike, and what goes up quickly crashes just as fast. That's exactly what was happening to Brian. His blood sugar was shooting up after breakfast, then plummeting, leaving him foggy, cranky, and strangely hungry again by mid-morning. Over time, this pattern can erode insulin sensitivity further, increasing the risk of type 2 diabetes, even in people who think they're eating well. These constant sugar spikes also contribute to visceral fat, inflammation, and damage to the blood vessels, particularly those supplying the heart and brain. But that's not all. Sugar, including brown sugar, has a powerful effect on your brain's reward system. It lights up dopamine pathways, offering a temporary feel-good moment. But when that reward fades, your brain seeks it again. That's not weakness, it's biology. And for older adults, these subtle dopamine dips can lead to more sugar cravings throughout the day, throwing off appetite control and energy levels. Brian wasn't overeating, he wasn't sedentary. He just didn't realize that those 2 teaspoons were creating a roller coaster his body could no longer tolerate. So what changed? I asked him to try one simple shift: remove the sugar for 2 weeks. In its place, he added a few slices of ripe pear and a sprinkle of cinnamon. The first few mornings were hard, he missed the sweetness. But after the first week, something happened. His energy held steady through the morning. He no longer reached for snacks at 10. And at his next checkup, his A1C had improved slightly. "I thought I needed that sugar to feel good," he told me. "Turns out I feel better without it." This isn't about demonizing sweetness. It's about knowing when it helps and when it quietly hurts. Natural sources of sweetness, like fruit, come bundled with fiber, water, and nutrients that help slow sugar absorption and support your metabolism. That's the kind of fuel your body deserves at this stage of life. So if you're still putting brown sugar in your oatmeal each morning, I urge you to take a second look. That one small habit might be standing in the way of more stable energy, better blood sugar, and a stronger heart. If any part of this story hits home for you, consider subscribing to the channel. And if you've had a similar experience or you're trying to make a change, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your story. Number 2, artificial sweeteners. When sugar-free backfires. When people learn about the dangers of added sugar, the next move is often predictable. They reach for the artificial stuff. It feels like a smart swap. Fewer calories, no spike in blood sugar, a safe way to satisfy that sweet tooth. But over the years, I've seen a different reality unfold in my practice. Let me introduce you to Lorraine, 69 years old, a retired dental hygienist with a sharp wit and a shelf full of cookbooks. She made the switch to artificial sweeteners a decade ago after a borderline A1C reading. Every morning, she stirred 2 pink packets into her oatmeal. No sugar, no guilt. She felt like she was doing the responsible thing. But then the fatigue started. Her digestion slowed. Her cravings for sweets never really went away. And oddly, her weight crept up. Her labs were normal, mostly, but she just didn't feel like herself. Something wasn't right. Artificial sweeteners like sucralose, aspartame, and saccharin may not raise blood sugar directly, but they confuse your body in more subtle, long-term ways. When you taste sweetness, your brain expects energy, calories to follow. When that doesn't happen, it can throw off your insulin signaling and metabolism. Your body gets mixed messages, and the result is often more hunger, not less. In older adults, this effect is magnified. Hormonal sensitivity declines with age. Your body becomes less adaptable. What you could get away with in your 40s now has consequences. I've seen patients struggle with persistent belly fat, unexplained fatigue, even worsening insulin resistance, all while trying to do the right thing with artificial sweeteners. But that's not the only concern. Many of these compounds are filtered through the liver and kidneys. For someone in their 60s or 70s, these organs are already working overtime, managing medications, aging cells, and years of cumulative stress. Even small daily doses of artificial additives can build up, adding a layer of burden that isn't always obvious until problems surface. That was Lorraine's case. Her liver enzymes were slightly elevated, her digestion off, her mood flat. We reviewed everything, and those little pink packets stood out. I asked her to cut them out for 4 weeks. It wasn't easy. At first, she missed the convenience, but she started using cinnamon and a few fresh raspberries in her oatmeal instead. After 3 weeks, she reported back. Clearer thinking, fewer cravings, better sleep. Her follow-up labs showed slight improvement. I didn't realize those tiny packets were dragging me down, she said. I thought they were helping. And that's the hardest part. The marketing around artificial sweeteners is powerful. But the human body, especially the aging one, needs real nourishment, not chemical trickery. There's no shortcut to health, just choices that either support your biology or stress it. If you're using artificial sweeteners in your oatmeal, take a moment to reflect. What if the thing you thought was helping is actually holding you back? Try swapping it out for natural flavors. Vanilla extract, nutmeg, cinnamon, even a dash of almond milk. These offer warmth and comfort without confusing your system. And real fruit, in moderation, can give you sweetness with benefits, fiber, vitamins, and antioxidants. Your body is still capable of healing, still capable of balance. It just needs the right inputs. If this insight gave you something to think about, go ahead and subscribe so we can keep this conversation going. And I'd love to hear from you. Have you tried cutting out artificial sweeteners? What happened? Share your story in the comments. You never know who it might help. Number 3, dried fruits, nature's candy with a hidden cost. We tend to trust what looks natural, and dried fruits, raisins, cranberries, apricots look like nature's answer to candy, a healthier way to sweeten your oatmeal. After all, it's just fruit, right? But for the aging body, dried fruit is a classic example of how something healthy in one form can quietly turn problematic in another. Let me tell you about Dennis, a 74-year-old retired contractor from Ohio. Strong hands, quiet demeanor, always moving. He was proud of his clean eating habits. No donuts, no soda, never touched fast food. And every morning, without fail, He topped his oatmeal with a generous handful of dried dates. "Gotta keep the fiber up," he said. And sure, fiber is part of it. But what Dennis didn't know is that those dried dates were also packing over 30 grams of sugar in just one small handful. And unlike fresh fruit, dried fruit has almost no water left to slow the absorption of that sugar. It hits your system fast, particularly hard for someone over 60. What's more, dried fruits are concentrated sources of fructose, a type of sugar that's metabolized almost entirely by the liver. When consumed in excess, fructose contributes to fat buildup in the liver, especially dangerous in older adults already dealing with slower metabolism and long-term medication use. Dennis had no idea his breakfast was stressing his liver. But over time, he noticed a few things: more bloating, occasional discomfort on his right side, and fatigue after meals. Routine blood work revealed slightly elevated liver enzymes and creeping blood pressure numbers. Not alarming, but not ideal. We made one change. Out went the dried dates. In came fresh blueberries and thin apple slices. The sweetness was still there, but now it came with water, fiber, and a slower sugar release. 3 weeks later, Dennis came back for a follow-up. He looked more alert, said his digestion felt smoother, and his labs improved across the board. "I figured dried fruit was fruit," he said, shaking his head. "Didn't think I was overloading anything." That's the danger. Dried fruits feel harmless. But for many older adults, they act like stealth sugar bombs, disguised by good intentions and smart marketing. Even unsweetened dried fruit, like raisins or figs, are tricky in small bodies. The portion sizes on labels are tiny, but most people use far more than the suggested few tablespoons. It adds up, especially when you're adding them to a bowl that's already carbohydrate heavy. It's not about never eating dried fruit again. It's about context and quantity. If your liver is already under stress from age, medications, or diet, even a small extra burden makes a difference. So next time you reach for that handful of dried apricots, pause. Would a few slices of fresh peach or a half banana give you what you're really looking for? Your body still responds to better choices. You just have to give it the right ones. If you're finding this helpful, consider sharing this video with someone in your life who might be leaning too hard on dried fruit for sweetness. And if you've got your own breakfast trick or a question you're unsure about, leave a comment. This is the kind of space where real change can start with a simple story. Number 4, flavored oatmeal packets. Convenience that costs more than time. We live in a world that prizes convenience. And for many older adults, those little flavored oatmeal packets are the definition of easy. Tear, pour, add hot water, breakfast is served. They seem harmless enough. And the labels, full of promises, low fat, heart healthy, made with whole grains. But what they don't highlight are the hidden ingredients that make those packets shelf-stable, artificially flavorful, and quietly harmful to the very organs we're trying to protect. I remember working with a woman named Teresa. She was 76, lived alone, and prided herself on staying independent. She didn't cook much anymore, but every morning she had oatmeal, the same kind, maple and brown sugar flavor from a box. She thought she was doing everything right, but she always felt a little puffy afterward, and her doctor had been watching her blood pressure slowly inch up over the past 2 years. At first, she didn't connect the two. After all, oatmeal's good for you, right? But here's the truth. Most flavored oatmeal packets are loaded with sodium, sometimes over 250 milligrams per serving. That doesn't sound like much on its own, but stack it onto toast, canned soup, or even an afternoon snack, and suddenly you're well over the recommended daily limit, especially if you're managing high blood pressure or kidney function. Then there's the flavoring itself. These packets rarely use real ingredients to achieve that apple cinnamon or maple taste. Instead, they rely on artificial flavors, synthetic thickeners, colorants, and stabilizers. These additives don't offer any nutrition. What they do is ask more of your liver and kidneys, organs that, by your 60s or 70s, may already be handling multiple medications or the natural wear of aging. Teresa wasn't eating chips or processed meals. Her junk food was breakfast. And that's what makes these packets so sneaky. They wear the costume of health while delivering the burden of a snack aisle indulgence. When we reviewed her diet together, She was surprised. "It's just oatmeal," she said. So we ran an experiment. She switched to plain rolled oats, cooked on the stovetop with water, added a few diced apples, a dash of cinnamon, and a splash of milk. It took 5 extra minutes, and she was skeptical at first. But by week 2, the swelling in her hands had lessened. Her ankles weren't as tight. And her blood pressure? Down a few points. She didn't just look better. She felt lighter, less bloated, less groggy. "I didn't realize how much those little packets were doing," she told me. "I thought I was simplifying, but I was making it harder on my body." Here's what I tell every patient who asks about quick breakfast. Real food takes a little more effort, but gives you far more in return. A few more minutes in the morning could mean fewer pills in the future. And when you feed your body what it actually recognizes, whole oats, real fruit, warm spices, you're not just filling your stomach. You're supporting your heart, your kidneys, your brain. So if you're still reaching for that box of flavored packets, maybe tomorrow, give your body something a little more honest. If you've made that switch or are thinking about it, let me know in the comments. And if this kind of content helps you rethink small habits, consider subscribing. The little changes are where the real stories begin. Number 5, non-dairy creamers. Creamy taste, real trouble. We've all seen them, those tidy containers of non-dairy creamer tucked neatly beside the coffee pot. Powdered or liquid, flavored or plain, they promise all the creaminess of milk without the hassle. And for older adults who are lactose intolerant or watching their cholesterol, they can feel like a smart alternative. But hidden beneath the pleasant packaging is a blend of oils, additives, and synthetic ingredients that your body, especially your aging body, might not handle as well as you think. Take Vincent, for example. He's 70, a retired engineer with a love for routine. Every morning started the same way. Oatmeal made in the microwave, stirred with a big spoonful of powdered non-dairy creamer. It just made it smoother, he told me, more comforting. But over the past year, Vincent had been dealing with indigestion, occasional heartburn, and his LDL cholesterol had crept up more than his cardiologist liked. He had no idea that something as small as that powder could be contributing to the problem. Most non-dairy creamers are made using hydrogenated oils, including partially hydrogenated varieties, which are direct sources of trans fats. And trans fats are particularly dangerous for older adults. They raise LDL, bad cholesterol, lower HDL, good cholesterol, and increase inflammation throughout the body. Even when a product says trans fat free, it can still contain up to 0.5 grams per serving if the portion size is small enough. It adds up fast. Then there's the issue of what else is in that spoonful: stabilizers, emulsifiers, artificial flavors, and colorants. All of them designed to trick your taste buds, not nourish your system. And for people in their 60s or 70s, with livers and kidneys that are already under strain from medications or chronic conditions, these additives require extra filtration that may not be worth the creamy texture. When I asked Vincent to try going without his creamer for a month, he hesitated. "It's just powder," he said. "Can it really make that much of a difference?" But he gave it a shot. He switched to unsweetened oat milk. Still smooth, still satisfying. After 2 weeks, his heartburn was gone. A month in, his follow-up lipid panel showed improvement. And most importantly, he felt better, lighter, less bloated, more comfortable after breakfast. "It's funny," he said. "I thought I was being health conscious. Turns out I was just making it harder on myself." And that's the truth of it. These creamers are marketed as light, dairy-free, and convenient. But convenience shouldn't come at the cost of inflammation, higher cholesterol, or an overworked liver. If you're looking for a better option, try a splash of almond milk, oat milk, or even a spoonful of plain yogurt. Things your body recognizes as food, not chemistry. If you tolerate dairy, a touch of real cream is often safer in moderation than a spoonful of synthetic mix. Your body doesn't need imitation. It needs nourishment. And that means choosing ingredients that care for your heart, not just please your palate. If this part of the video got you thinking differently about what you stir into your morning bowl, I'm glad. And if you have a favorite alternative that works for you, I'd love to know. Share it in the comments. And while you're here, go ahead and subscribe. We've got more to unpack together. Number 6, store-bought granola. Crunch that crashes your health. Crunch. That satisfying texture is what draws many people to sprinkle granola onto their morning oatmeal. It seems like the perfect balance, soft, warm oats paired with something crisp and wholesome. And granola looks like health. It's sold in earthy packaging with words like natural, organic, and whole grain printed boldly across the front. But what's inside those bags is often very different from what your heart and metabolism need. Let me tell you about Natalie. She's 70, a retired piano teacher with a gentle spirit and a pantry full of healthy foods. She started adding granola to her oatmeal for texture, choosing brands labeled low-fat or gluten-free. It felt smart, of course. She told me, I figured a little crunch would help me stay full longer. But Natalie was struggling with afternoon crashes. Her blood sugar would dip, her energy would vanish, and her weight had started creeping up around the midsection, despite her efforts to eat clean. So we looked closer at her breakfast. Most store-bought granolas are baked with sweeteners, sometimes in multiple forms: brown sugar, honey, maple syrup, molasses, or brown rice syrup. Even when labeled as low sugar, these sweeteners are often combined with refined oils, canola, soybean, or palm, baked to achieve that golden crisp. And those oils, when overly processed or hydrogenated, contribute to chronic inflammation. Add in the fact that serving sizes are laughably small, often just 2 or 3 tablespoons, and you've got a real problem. Most people use far more than the recommended amount. In Natalie's case, she was adding nearly half a cup, thinking it was a modest sprinkle. That half cup packed in almost as much sugar and fat as a store-bought cookie. Not exactly the way to start a heart-friendly day. We swapped it out. Natalie replaced her granola with a tablespoon of crushed walnuts and a few sunflower seeds. Still crunchy, still satisfying, but now with healthy fats and no added sugar. Within 3 weeks, her mid-afternoon slumps faded, her cravings decreased, and at her next appointment, she told me, I didn't realize how much granola was working against me. Granola is tricky, it hides behind its reputation, but most commercial versions are heavily sweetened and calorie-dense, offering more of what you're trying to avoid than what you need. For older adults, this matters even more. Our metabolism slows with age, our blood vessels stiffen, our ability to manage glucose becomes more sensitive. Every bite counts, and starting the day with a hidden sugar bomb can quietly undo the rest of your good habits. So what should you do if you still want that texture? Try lightly toasted seeds, raw almonds, pecans, or unsweetened coconut flakes. They give you the crunch, the fiber, and the real nutrients your body understands. And if you miss the sweetness, a few blueberries or a dash of cinnamon can go a long way without tipping your blood sugar into chaos. You don't have to give up the pleasure of breakfast, but you do need to look closer at what's pretending to be healthy. If this part of the video opened your eyes to something you hadn't noticed before, consider sharing it with a friend who loves granola as much as you do. And if you found a better way to add crunch to your oatmeal, leave a comment. Your tip could be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Number 7, protein powders. Too much of a good thing. Protein is essential, especially as we age. It helps maintain muscle mass, supports metabolism, and keeps us feeling full. So it's no surprise that many older adults try to boost their intake, especially at breakfast. And what could be more convenient than a scoop of protein powder stirred into a warm bowl of oatmeal? But here's where the story turns. Not all protein powders are created equal. And for aging bodies, especially those managing multiple medications or reduced kidney function, that morning scoop might be doing more harm than good. Let me tell you about Alan. He's 78, a retired firefighter who still lifts light weights and takes pride in staying active. A few years ago, after reading an article about age-related muscle loss, he decided to start adding a scoop of vanilla protein powder to his oatmeal every morning. It just seems smart, he said. Easy protein, no frying, no fuss. At first it worked fine, but over time Alan started noticing changes. He felt more sluggish. His appetite dropped. His ankles swelled more than usual. And his doctor mentioned his kidney numbers were borderline, a surprise given his healthy lifestyle. We took a closer look. Most commercial protein powders are ultra-processed. They contain artificial sweeteners, flavorings, thickening agents, and preservatives that put stress on your liver and kidneys. These organs are already handling enough in older adults, everything from decades of wear to prescription medications. But there's another issue: protein overload. While protein is important, the aging body doesn't process large amounts of it as efficiently. What it can't use for tissue repair gets broken down and filtered, mainly through the kidneys. In a younger person, this usually isn't a big deal. But in someone over 65, it can quietly contribute to kidney stress and fluid retention. Alan didn't have kidney disease, but he had age, and age changes everything. So I asked him to cut the protein powder. Instead, I suggested he have a boiled egg on the side or stir in a spoonful of Greek yogurt. Still protein, still satisfying, but now in a form the body recognizes and uses without overloading filtration systems. 4 weeks later, Alan came back with more energy and a smaller waistline. His blood work looked steadier, and the swelling had gone down. "I thought more protein was better," he said. "Didn't realize there was such a thing as too much." And that's the key lesson. Protein is good, but too much, especially from synthetic sources, can quietly sabotage the very health goals you're chasing. It's not about avoiding protein. It's about choosing real food sources that give your body what it needs in a way it can actually use. Eggs, nuts, yogurt, lentils, even cottage cheese. These are all excellent ways to support muscle without overburdening the body. And if you do use powder, choose one that's clean, unsweetened, and free of unnecessary additives. Your body's still strong, still responsive, but it needs the right support, especially first thing in the morning. If you've ever used protein powder in your breakfast routine, I'd love to hear what worked for you or what didn't. Leave a comment below and share your experience. And if you've been finding these stories helpful, consider subscribing so you won't miss what's coming next. This is just the beginning of a much bigger conversation. Final thoughts. Your morning, your momentum. By now, you've probably realized that the little things we do each morning aren't so little after all. That bowl of oatmeal, so familiar, so simple, can be a gateway to healing or a silent contributor to the fatigue, the inflammation, the blood sugar crashes that so many people over 60 chalk up to just getting older. But aging isn't a surrender. It's a shift. Your body still listens. It still responds. What it needs is clarity, support, respect. And that starts with awareness, with the choice to look more closely at the healthy habits you've carried for years, not to judge them, but to refine them, to meet your body where it is today, not where it used to be. We covered 7 small ingredients, 7 seemingly harmless add-ins. But behind each one is a larger story about how the modern food system often pulls us away from what our bodies truly need, and how easy it is to come back to center with a few thoughtful changes. This isn't about perfection, it's about momentum, and your morning can be where that begins. So if today's video gave you a new insight or reminded you of something you have always known, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a new post. Every little bit of support helps keep this community strong and growing. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Wishing you clarity, energy, and joy, starting with your very next breakfast.